Hey everybody, thanks for checking out this intro to Octane and Blender 2.8 tutorial series I'm going to have going. If you don't already have it installed, I want to show you what to do real quick. Just go to home.otoy.com, or you can just Google Octane and it's like the first thing. What you want to do is you want to go to subscribe now, and you'll see this at first, which I do. I forget which one I have. I have one of the subscriptions for Cinema 4D, but that one you pay for. This is part of the the Prime free tier. So there's Blender. All you would do is click Try Now. Go ahead and fill in all the required info. It doesn't ask you for a credit card or anything like that. But then when you're done, it takes you to where you would download right here, this Prime server for Windows, OS X, or Linux, and this build of Blender Octane. So once you have those both installed, you click this guy first, and you'll see it running down here. Don't right click it or anything like that, because it'll make it go away. And then you double click this, and then you'll just sign in with whatever username and password that you use to sign up with here. It's super simple. Once you get that done, if for some reason Octane doesn't show right here, which it should, go to Edit and go to Preferences and Octane Render Engine. Make sure it's ticked right there. Oh, let me put this back to how you'll have it. It should look just like this. You don't have to change anything like I just did. I had changed something because I actually recorded this before, but the audio didn't work. So that was awesome. So yeah, save. And now you are in Octane and Blender. If you click this guy right here, you will see, it'll say no GPUs. Ignore that, because if there were no GPUs, this wouldn't be working. This would not be rendering right now. And if you go over here to your render tab and you scroll all the way down, you can go to device preferences and see that guy. You can actually pick whatever GPU you want. Currently it only supports one GPU. So just pick whichever one you want. I'm using the one that's not running my monitor. There. All right. So to get started, let's not delete the default cube for once. We can delete this light because that doesn't matter. Camera, yeah, we can delete that for right now. So one of the biggest issues that I've found is people saying that the viewport doesn't match what they get when they render, or if they throw an HDRI in, the HDRI looks odd. So what you want to do is in your render tab, after you change it to Octane, you want to come all the way down here and color management and set this to none. You'll see this will kind of turn gray here. And you won't really see a big change if you render right now. If you see this, just stop it here. Give it a sec. Go back and it should render. Yeah, now it's counting, but we don't have anything. Oh no, it's not rendering. All right, well, go to your world settings, get rid of this Octane daylight environment, and go to a texture environment. And I'm just going to pull this over and switch this to my shader editor and go to world. And what you'll see is you have the Blender background, which we don't need that. That's for Cycles and Eevee, and we are currently not in Cycles and Eevee. But what I want is I want an image texture, specifically an HDRI. So I just hit Shift A and S, and I'll type in image. Let's do image texture. And I'll plug the texture here. Open, and I want to go to HDRI, and let's pick let's do my I always do this one. But if you notice, if you render with this, okay, here, add a camera. Where's my camera? Camera, there we go. That was my bad. I'm deleting the camera. So if you get that pure black render and it doesn't say anything, add a camera. We're not even looking through our camera. Oh boy, where am I? Oh, the camera's inside the cube. There we go. That's better. All right, so this is an issue. I know this is not how this HDRI looks. It's way too dark. And that's because of this gamma right here. We need to set the gamma to 1. And I have found that true on every HDRI that I've put in so far. And let me give this a quick color, a quick texture. You don't have to follow me right now. We're actually going to go through all the materials here in a sec. I just want to show you something else. One of the main issues. All right. So here, I have a shiny cube. And I have a red shiny cube now. I'm going to go to my camera. See how this looks in the camera. I'm going to render this real quick. So to render, I'm just going to hit F12. All right, see this here? This looks just like that super high contrasty look that we had before that we did not want. So if I render here and I pull up that reference render, viewports don't match. And I see a lot of people have this issue. So what you have to do is click your camera, go over here to your camera tab, scroll almost all the way down to the Octane camera imager. You need to select this, and for now I'm just going to go to linear color space. I'm going to set this gamma to 2.2, and now this will match whatever our render is. So I have to wait till this is done. It won't let you render two at once. So there, let's pull this back up. There we go. Look at that. They're twins. And that's a big issue that a lot of people have been having, I've seen. A lot of people were like, oh, you know, turn sRGB off and then that works. Yeah, that works, but you also need to modify your HDRI environment. You need to go to your camera imager and not just select it, but go to your linear color space and set your gamma to 2.2. And I don't know if we're going to go over some of the awesome things over here right now or in this tutorial. I don't want this one to be super long. I kind of want just a quick intro to get you started. And then I'll go into some more cooler stuff here in the next tutorial. Okay, so let's go over just some basic materials since we have our HDRI in here. This big universal material, this will come as your default material. Whenever you go in and you add a new one, that's what will pop up. I normally work in Cinema 4D and Octane, and I've actually never used the universal material. I find that when I get my node groups over here, I'm constantly looking up and down too much. So I honestly don't work in that. If I want to work in metallic or glass, specular, or glossy, I just actually hit Shift A and then hit S for search, and I'll type in glossy. Go over here to render. Let's make this one blue, shiny. There we go, blue and shiny. One of my favorite things about the Octane render engine is this little feature right here, this edges rounding. I import a lot of CAD models, and I don't want to go in and fix the topology and add little bevels and fillets to everything. And I also don't want to build a model in whatever CAD program I'm using. And just because of I want a nice accurate render. I don't want to go in and put a fillet on everything. So they have a really cool little feature here. If I hit Shift A, S, round edges, I usually change this to accurate because I don't know. I just assume I want an accurate edge. I'll start off at like 0.1. Plug that in here. All right, that's way too big. But check this out. If you hold Shift, click and drag with your mouse left and right. There we go. Look at that. I got a little highlight now on my edge. And I didn't have to go in. I didn't have to add any other faces. I didn't have to bevel it. I didn't have to add any modifiers. This is just all with nodes. And sure, it's not actually round. I mean, it's still point. It's just a little visual trick. But I love it. It saved me a ton of time in just making accurate renders, because one thing I hate is when I render something and it's from a CAD model and it has crazy sharp knife edges. Nothing in the world is actually that sharp. Like, everything has a little bevel to it. And just this little edge pickup looks so much better. Oh, this is another thing. I just disconnected this to show you what it would look like without. If it doesn't update, or you do a bunch of changes over here and you don't really see anything, just stop rendering it and go back and render it again. There. Okay, see this? This is boring. I don't have any edge highlights, any pickup, anything like that. And now, there we go. Look at that nice little highlight we have. Looks way better. Beautiful. All right. So as far as the glossy material, you have your diffuse, where you change your color, just like the principal shader. Specular, how bright the reflections will be. That's the way I think of specularity. Roughness, actual roughness and scattering of the light across your object to make it dull or shiny. And your index, which I never mess with index when it comes to, unless I need a specific plastic shader. If I'm just making something glossy, just like a basic plastic at a distance, I'll just leave it at 1.45. And I think that was the default Blender one. Opacity, this one's really fun. I animate this a lot in Cinema. So when I want a part to show up, I just animate that guy right there. In addition to glossy, you have specular material. So this is going to be your glass and plastic. So we'll put that in there. And if I actually change this to 1.33, this could look like ice. If you get a little bump map on it, and like an ice map in your roughness channel. But anyways, let me set that back. Turn my roughness all the way down. And now I've got a nice clear glass shader. And it looks like my edge rounding's still on, so I'm going to stop my render and go back again. There we go. And this does work with thickness, so if you want to add the solidify modifier. Nope, I was right on the normals. Alright, so see all these sharp edges? Let's apply this. And put that guy in the edge rounding. Oh, that's kind of cool. Alright. And no, this is not like going to be a super accurate tutorial on how to make all this look, you know, exactly how you want it. I guess a better one for specularity would have been a cylinder. Yeah, let's add a cylinder and new material, not you, specular material. There we go. Oh yeah, this leads me to something else. So no matter what you do Blender wise to smooth this out, other than subdividing it, if you right click and shade smooth, nothing happens. If you go over here to your normals and auto smooth your normals, Nothing happens. Still looks terrible, right? This guy right here, smooth. If you tick that, you do have to add some supporting edges. Let's see. Oh, I'm still not used to not hitting Control Tab. Which, funny enough, I have a tutorial on how to restore Control Tab. I just haven't done it on this computer yet. Because I love hitting Control Tab and selecting edge and vertex and faces. There we go. This is a much better demo for specular material. So there. Now I have a nice cool specular material and it's smooth. And really, yeah, I added a couple edge loops, but I didn't have to add a ton of faces. I didn't have to subdivide it to get rid of all the faceted edges right there. All I did was I click smooth. All right, let me go back to a glossy shader. Glossy material, and we'll smooth that. See? Isn't that cool? And we'll add a plane. Alright, so we have a little shadow right here. Let me get a more prominent shadow real quick. I'm just going to delete this environment. And I'm going to add in a plane. Oops, scale it on the Y. And I'm going to make this an emissive plane to cast a heavy shadow. Alright, so select my plane. New. No. You know what? I don't use that, so I'm going to go to my preferences, and this is what I had changed before. I'm going to make this glossy. I use the glossy more than anything. So now whenever I add a new material, I'm going to get glossy, which, funny enough, right now that actually isn't what I want. Oh, but I wanted the output. I want a diffuse material. Now, we haven't gone over this one yet, but this is literally just a diffuse material. It won't get more shiny or rough, and we're going to use this in 2 spots. So for my plane, I want the diffuse material to be my shadow catcher. So I'm going to tick this guy right here. And then this, I want this to be emissive. And I usually use blackbody emission. So search for black, boom, there we go, blackbody emission. This right here goes into your emission. And then I don't have any environment, so this should be black. So the only source of light should be coming from this guy right here. So I'm going to render, and if you don't see it, it might be over there. So RZ 180, and then RY there. And this is clearly not bright enough. We need this a lot brighter. So light has fall off. If you click this instant power, or instance power, I believe this means that it does not ever have a fall off. But I'm going to turn this way up to like 5,000. You know what? I'm going to actually add an environment back in. There. Let's turn this back down a little bit. Yeah, a little more. 500. All right, you see the shadow right here? You won't get that checkered alpha transparency look, but go over here and go to alpha channel. And then if you render this, oh yeah, one at a time. Render, you'll see that we have our shadow. We'll have everything transparent because we selected an alpha channel. And yeah, that's pretty much the Blender version of the shadow catcher. You can hide this light too. You can go over to its light properties, or I'm sorry, it's not a real light, it's a plane. Go over here and you can turn off the camera visibility. So now when you render, it's still there, but you don't see it here now. And we're going to go over layers. We're going to go over a lot of different things here in the next video. You can actually automate a lot of cool export passes to like composite in After Effects or Photoshop or DaVinci Resolve, Fusion, whatever you want or whatever you use. One of the coolest features though about Octane is its displacement ability. So check this out. I have this plane. I don't have any subdivisions. And I don't want to subdivide it. I'm going to just clear this. Make a new material. Yay, glossy. I'm going to add a displace. Shift A, S. Texture displacement. I'm going to load in a image texture for my displacement texture, but I actually have it open in a window just off screen here. I'm going to pull in this road displacement map, and be sure you set it to non-color data. Plug that into your texture, and we can't really see anything because I don't have an environment because we deleted it earlier. Go in, oops, and add an HDRI in, which ours should still be in here. There it is. Give that a sec. All right, stop that. Go, and since it's an HDRI that we just loaded in, even though we loaded it in earlier, we still need to change that back to 1 so we get the right color in our HDRI. All right, now look at this. I loaded in this displacement map. Look at that. Let's turn it up a little bit. 0.005. All right. Now, the reason it looks so low poly is because you have to up this. I usually just set it to 8K. Give it a sec. There we go. Look how much that cleared up. And that is actual displacement. That's just the coolest thing because we have no subdivisions on this plane. And I have no subdivision surface. So I can save a lot of memory because you don't need to go in here, right click, subdivide 10,000 times. So now we've subdivided a couple times, but still, you would never get this sort of displacement with cycles displacement. So 0.001. Yeah, it's awesome. So that's the glossy material. And I think we still have the metallic one to talk about. I'm going to load in a cylinder, new material, smooth it out, and let me tighten it up a little bit here. Oops. Control R to scale on Z. There we go. Looks nice. Let's make it red. Actually, it won't matter because we're going to make this metallic. So for a metal shader, Shift A, S, metallic material, and we'll get into the layers and all that other stuff on another video. And actually, I'll go slower. But like I said, just want to get you started. If you don't want to hit Shift A and S, you can go up to Add, and you can go through here. And this is all of the Octane nodes. The dirt's pretty cool. We'll get into that one in the next video. The mapping and things like that. Texture emission. Yeah. Anyways, let's see here. Let's smooth it out because I don't want those crazy lines in there. And let me grab this one, tighten this up a little bit. I'm going to hit GG, just slide that up. I'm going to Alt double click that, GG, slide this down. There we go. That's how I'd rather see it. Alright, so if you come here, here's your roughness slider, just like all the other shaders. However, if you want color, you don't mess with the diffuse. Just add in an RGB color spectrum. So Shift A, S, RGB spectrum. Plug that into your specular channel. And then boom. That's how you get metal. And if you want something that has like an anisotropic look, how the reflections kind of go either this way or this way. Like if you look at a pan, like your pots and pans, they're more of a anisotropic style shader. So let's turn this up. See how it's not doing anything, even if you mess with the rotation, because we have Octane selected here. Let me turn these back to 0. And I'm going to go to GGX. Well, we will increase the roughness a little bit more. And now if we turn this guy up and play with the rotation, it'll start acting like it should. It doesn't work in the Octane setting, just the GGX. Kind of crazy. Super cool. So that's how that works. Let's go back to Octane. Zero this out. And you can get very accurate with your colors. You can look up exact IORs and you can build it out based off of each one's value. It's kind of laid out better in Cinema. Maybe I'll show you that in the next video. But the whole rounded edges thing still work here. Smoothing, obviously you want so you don't get that crazy faceted look. You can just throw in a subdivision surface. Look at that. Still showing up. So pretty much just make sure smooth is always enabled. I think as far as basic materials go, that's really it. We did the metallic, we did the diffuse, and we did the specular. So with specular, say you want some red glass. Smooth that out. Oh no, transmission. There we go. Plug that guy into the transmission. Looks like jello. And then your IOR is the index of refraction, and you can look it up for different materials. So like plastic has its own IOR. Water I think is 1.333 or something. Yeah, there you go. Look at that. I don't think I've plugged anything into the volume. Let's see how that works. Let me stop it and start it just to see. It's interesting. But yeah, let's not do that. All right. The only other thing I can imagine people would want to do is plug in image textures and maps, which let's add in a plane, scale that up. So this, I want to have the materials we have laid out here, or just delete this. There we go. So now we have a plane. Rotate that to 90. So we have a nice glass plane right here. We'll take that back to 1.45. You can see the refraction's working right there. Alright, so say you want to have smudges or something on your glass. Oh, the reflection. We can darken it. We can brighten it up. Let's see. Let's grab another image texture. I'm going to go off screen. I'm going to grab a random one that I have. Oh, here's a handprint. This might be cool. Non-color data. Into the roughness. Boom. Look at that. And to customize it, you can mess with the gamma to make it very, very rough. Or you can drag it up to kind of clamp down and make it more sporadic. You can leave it 2.2. You can drop a multiply texture in and use the multiply texture value to adjust how you want it to look. In Blender, I always put everything through a gradient. So I can really fine tune it. So say I want it like this, but I want it to be more transparent. I can go into this white slider and I can kind of drop that and fine tune it until I have it more like I want it. So there, that's the other side of it. If you want this to be more rough around the hand, you mess with the black slider. See that now? And then if you make this totally black, clamp down on it a little bit, you kind of go back to your original 0 roughness there. But I just like messing with gradient textures. I feel like you have a lot more customization than you do with a multiply texture. In cinema, I normally use a color correction, but I haven't got the same results using it here as I do there. So yeah, this is just kind of like the multiply, where it just affects the hand, but then the gamma is just like adjusting the gamma here. So I can't get that roughness on anything other than the hand messing with this. So that's why I usually resort to a gradient texture. Because if I like this, but I want this a little bit more hazy again, I just go here and I drag this around how I want it. So yeah. The maps are pretty much the same as they are in Blender for cycles. The only trick is if you want to rotate this, you need to drop in a full transform. Plug that into your transform. And then if you hold shift and watch that hand, you can see it moving around the X, Y. The Z won't do anything. But did you notice there it's tiling and repeating? When I did that corona, I actually wanted it repeating. I wanted it stamped along the whole edge. But say you scale this down. Oh geez. Say you scale this hand down and you want it right there, but you don't want the other ones to show. You can go in here and you can clamp the value. And that essentially cuts it out so you only have this one hand. Or one map, and then you won't have all the other ones coming around, which is kind of cool. So I'm messing with the scale, things like that. That's all done over here. And if you want to adjust the scale uniformly, you click, drag straight down, and then drag left and right, and that'll change all the values at once. And that's regular Blender cycles too. That's not just Octane node thing. And if you want this projected differently, so let's see. Let's just drop a cube in, scale it up, apply its scale. Copy the materials over to it. That's exactly what I wanted. Gross. Here we go. Let's just put this default. There we go. Big giant fingerprints all over. Alright, say you want this mapped differently. You can actually type in projection and you can see all the different types of projections that it has. So you can just do a box projection, set it to object space, world space, plug that into your projection. There you go. You got them on the top, you got them on the side, you got them on the front, on the bottom, so all angles. And then the same UV mapping works. Let's do a smart UV project. Get rid of that. And search UV, and you want this UV projection. Plug that in there. There it is. UV image editor. So this face is right here. You can move that around. It'll move that handprint around. So yeah, that's just like regular cycle stuff. But obviously it's laid out a little different. And this right here, this depends on your UVs that you have here. So let me actually pull up that that coronavirus. I'll show you something. Where is it? There it is. So let's file, open. Nah, didn't do anything cool. Let's open this. Okay, this cap right here. So I have a bunch of different materials on this one cap. This one specifically looks like it's how I did my stamp. But let me go to the grip. See right there how it's UV projection set 2, which would be this one. They, unlike Blender, how you have to type in the UV map, this just goes by this one is this one, this one is this one, and then if you had a third one, it'd go on and on. But let's render this just for fun. All right. So say I wanted this view right here. Let me just focus in on this part. I did that by hitting Control B. Say I wanted to rotate this over. I'm going to go to, I call it my dent because I try to indent it. I'll just go here and then I'll rotate this. Nope, I lied to you. That's up and down. I'll rotate this one. See it moving there? Now it's right there. Now it's back over here. And all I did to do this was, this is just a bump map. And this right here is just a noise. So it's kind of like the Blender noise. So this one's your scale. This one is your, what's it called? Details, I think it is. Wait, I'm dumb. Over here. This one's your scale. This one's your noise. Sorry, it's late. I'm tired. But I just did an add. So if you want to add these two together, add texture, this texture, this texture. Because of what I'm going for is I want this bump that I have across the whole cap. That goes right into my bump. And there we go. And now I actually wonder if I would have done a texture displacement with this, how that would look. Let's just try it. Displace. Holy deep. That's cool. Damn, I should have done that first, huh? Looks way better. Well, that's what I get for not thinking. It's interesting. I did a clamp texture, but it's still repeating. I'll have to think why that is. It's late and I'm not smart right now, so that's what I'm gonna blame it on. Man, that looks so much cooler. Look at that. You can barely see it there. And there it's like boom, super stamp. Let's rotate that down a little bit. That's awesome. You know what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back in and I'm going to re-render this whole dumb project. Just because this should soften it a little bit. Just because this looks awesome. You can play with your mid-level. Kind of bring it in or out. So yeah, and this isn't super subdivided either. Look at that. That's all I have. Normally you would not get this detail out of this type of mesh. That's the benefit of the Octane displacement texture. I absolutely love it. It's probably one of my favorite things. There it goes. It's a little stretched too, but whatever. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and rethink some of the things I made on here. This guy was just a specular material, and I set it to thin wall. Oh, that was me trying stuff. I don't even need that. Ever since I started learning Octane, I've seen people do fake shadows. They've ticked this box. Just I should probably have looked it up before making a get into Octane training course, but I always just tick it. But thin wall pretty much makes this like a super thin pane. So I just unticked it, and right now this IOR is 1.22, so I'm getting refraction in there because this piece of glass actually has thickness to it, and without default 1.45, that looks stupid. So no matter what I did over here, I couldn't get it to look how I wanted it to. I just didn't like it. So what I did was I think I settled on 1.22, and I ticked thin wall. That way I still got some of the edge highlights on the glass, and it didn't distort my my helix in there. And as far as these really subtle anamorphic lens flares and stuff, oops, meant to click that one. I said I wouldn't get into a lot of like in-depth stuff, but down here you have under your camera tag, you've got this Octane post processor. So all this was just done in Octane. I didn't do anything in Photoshop. I'm not lazy. I'm lazy. I don't like compositing and other stuff unless I have to do like an animation or I have something for work that I have to throw into After Effects. But you tick this. I think I can make all these 0. Well, that's fun. Remind me not to save. Alright, so this one, I can turn up my bloom, which Eevee, you'd be familiar with this guy. And then you have, I think this is set to like 3 by default. This, you have your glare power. So you're going to get these streaks shooting off, and you should get 3 streaks. There we go. 1, 2, 3. But I don't like 3 streaks. I don't like all these streaks. You might. I like 1 streak. And I like this right here, that I can rotate its glare angle. So I always rotate them flat, like anamorphic lens flare style. I don't like how hard they are. So I'll blur them so I can just kind of make them out right there. Then you can actually change the hue and how these look. It's pretty cool, the post-processing effects that you can get in here. I absolutely love the Octane render engine, and I'll be using this every day. Maybe from now on, just for my own personal stuff, and when it becomes official, I'll probably get the subscription for work as well. So yeah, that's kind of the basic into the materials. If you want to see what the helix looks like, that's super boring. So I added some volume absorption and changed it here, which honestly I probably just could have killed that and put it in my my transmission. Let's see, let's match it, see if it looks the same. Boom. All right, there. It's a little different. Oh, because I have both. You know what? I kind of like that. It's pretty cool. Hue, saturation. So yeah, there's multiple ways to do essentially the same thing. And these are just the absolute most basic textures. I didn't do anything really crazy. This was just to get the bluish metal color that I wanted. In cycles and an EV. Let's see. Let's put that back into nope, not you. Let's go back to that boring bump that I'm gonna have to go back and change. And it's probably not even lined up now because I moved it, but whatever, that doesn't matter. As far as the depth of field and stuff, I did the same thing as I do in cycles. I added an empty. Let's see it here. There's my empty. Let's see, can I alright, let me pull this closer to the camera. I think I named this guy my focus. Let's see if it works. There. So now we should get focus wherever this empty is, which is kind of cool. You can actually animate this guy, kind of do a rack focus. And originally I had see how my lights going crazy? I had all my lights aimed at this, and I just moved this wherever I wanted the light to be sure to focus, but kind of served a dual purpose. Dual purpose, I can't talk. In acting as the focus for my lights, so no matter where I move them, it tracks to it, and the focal point for my camera. So yeah, that's the basics on what you need getting up and going with this. I'm gonna do one coming up with the Octane render passes, which these things are incredibly powerful and amazing. They help you visualize, your noise, so you can figure out exactly how many samples you need to get a nice clean render, your Z depth, and not only that, you can actually modify your Z depth right here, which this is great for post-processing, for adding in fake depth of field in compositing. Or you can take one of those standard like dust poof video files that people sell, and you can actually use this matte and adjust it so, say this guy fell over, the poof would actually look like it's coming from in front of it and behind it and maybe over here, even though it's really just a 2D layer. But that's pretty cool having Z-depth passes. And then I'll show you in the compositor how to actually export a beauty pass, and then your shadow separately, and then your reflection separately. And I'll show you how to make it all auto-save into whatever type of file folder you want. And I will probably rebuild this from scratch, and we can just do a walkthrough, like my watch and beer bottle and donuts, whatever else I have on my channel. That's what I like to do. And whatever the thumbnail is of that video, that'll actually be the result of the tutorial. I try to make sure, probably other than this video, I make sure my thumbnails are actually what we're going to be making. One thing that drove me crazy when I was getting started was I would see a thumbnail, love it, and think, yeah, no, that's exactly what I want to make. I want to learn how to do that. And then as I'm going through it, 30 minutes in, I realize this is not even close to what the thumbnail showed, like as in the texture or the overall quality, or even the overall quality of the model or lighting. So I try to eliminate that. That way it can help people start faster. That's just my thought on it. But yeah, definitely hit that subscribe button. I think like 90% of the people that watch my channel aren't subscribed. So that's kind of a bummer. I'm missing out on some cool stuff. I'm going to be uploading a lot more frequent here because it's cold and I don't want to go outside. So yeah, don't miss out on anything new. Hopefully this helped you guys out. If you have any questions, I know I kind of went fast through it, but I just wanted to get you started in it. Leave a comment below, and I try to respond to every comment unless like you're crazy and you're yelling at me, which that happens a lot, which is weird because people complain about free things and free learning, but whatever. I'll still reply to you. I won't be mean. But if you have a legit question or anything, let me know. Thanks for watching, and I will have a new video up in a couple days. Thanks.